you to know this Black Friday, you can sleep in.
All over the region. Retailers are calling this
When the dollar flu first broke out, the authorities gathered the sick in an area in the middle of Manhattan. They brought in the best scientists and the most cutting-edge medical equipment to try and contain the virus and look for a cure. But fairly quickly, the government realized that their attempts to control the virus were not enough. More and more people were becoming infected, and medical personnel and equipment were being pushed to their limits. CERA, or the Catastrophic Emergency Response Agency, is a federal agency whose primary focus is to deal with large-scale natural disasters. In the division, their goal is to stop the spread of the virus. They're responsible for supplying aid through supplies, medical facilities, and civilian camps, but also for the quarantine zones. CERA was heavily involved with the quarantining of Manhattan. The Joint Task Force, JTF, is a coalition of the police, firefighters, civil volunteers, and Army National Guardsmen. They were given the role of working in tandem with CERA to assist with stopping the spread of the virus and maintaining order. However, the JTF and CERA gradually started to lose grip on control of the situation, as the virus continued to spread, causing panic, rioting, looting, and the uprising of hostile groups. This is when the first wave of Strategic Homeland Division agents were activated. Their goal? To assist the JTF and regain control of the city. Unfortunately, it was too late. Shortly after the first wave division agents were released into the dark zone, CERA and the JTF pulled out, leaving behind supplies, medicine, weapons, thousands of infected, and the first wave agents. Abandoned and cut off from the outside world, many agents succumbed to the virus or were killed by the growing hostile factions within the quarantine zone. Understandably, the first wave agents were unhappy with how things had been handled by CERA, the JTF, and the government. And this is where we're introduced to a prominent figure in this division storyline, Aaron Keener. Aaron Keener was a first wave agent who, after the abandonment of the quarantine zone, became disillusioned with the government, its plan to save the city, and his role within the division.
Can't believe the bullshit that went down in the dark zone at the end there.
I know. We had it. Everything I told them was dead on. They made us pull out anyway.
And we left our dead behind.
Yeah, we're not supposed to do that. Hang on a second. Look, we don't leave people behind. We're here to make sure this city doesn't get left behind. But the people we're working with, they're just fine with leaving all of us behind if it's convenient. Look, I don't agree with every decision that's been made, but I am saying it's time to leave them behind. Their model doesn't work anymore. If we're smart, we cut it loose before it drags us down, before it kills us. You're talking treason. I'm talking common sense. Look around. There's nothing left to save. The JTF is trying to save a Manhattan that doesn't exist anymore. It is all about power now. Power and survival. They are done, but I am not. And you won't be either. Not if you work with me.
Keener disavowed the division and went rogue. His first action after turning against the government was to recruit other first wave agents into his new focus of survival and power. Any agents that refused were killed, causing other agents to cut communications and go into hiding. This is the event that triggered the second wave to be activated. Their goal was to investigate what happened and why the majority of the first wave had gone missing in action. After forming his group of rogue agents, Keener met up with the commanding officer of the Last Man Battalion, Charles Bliss. They agreed to collaborate through a deal that would benefit them both. Keener wanted to use the LMB to assist in operations to establish dominance over Manhattan, and Bliss wanted access to the Division Shade technology to gain advantage over other hostile groups. Keener, with the LMB, launched many operations against opposing groups, including the JTF. One of the most notable being an attack on a helicopter that was carrying a division commander that was in charge of the second wave division agents. The only survivors were Fei Lau and the player agent. During his time working with the LMB, Keener was also investigating the virus outbreak. He found that Dr. Gordon Amherst was responsible, and his plans were to use a weaponized virus as leverage. It was around this time that the presence of Aaron Keener was discovered by the division, and that he was working as a rogue agent against the United States. Keener's investigation led him to Dr. Vitaly Ternenko in the Russian consulate, who was also researching the virus. He organized some of his rogue agents to kidnap Ternenko and his research. Keener ends up betraying the LMB by leaving with Ternenko while the JTF and the division assault the UM compound to shut down the LMB base and take down Bliss. Keener found Amherst's lab, as well as some virus samples, a 3D DNA printer, and also Amherst's notes. His plan is to use Trinanco and the samples to weaponize the virus, and to use it to fulfill his belief that only those that are smart enough and good enough survive. The old rules, laws, and governments are gone. Now only survival and power matter. The Division and the US government are now fully aware of Keener's intentions. He's now wanted for high treason and has the potential of being registered as a terrorist. It was later discovered that Keener had spent some time in the West Side Pier. At this stage, all hostile groups had feuds with him, most of all the LMB. He broadcasted his location to bring all hostile factions to this area to hunt him down, which in turn brought the JTF and Division agents, whose distraction helped keep the hostile groups from finding him. During this time, he also taunted the Division agents, stating that no one will ever find him, and despite the quarantines and lockdowns of the island, he'll soon be gone. It's now confirmed that Aaron Keener is long gone from Manhattan, and likely New York City altogether. His location is currently unknown, but he continues to leave messages for JTF and other government agents to convince them of his ways and beliefs, and to join him and his agents in working against the government. His final message was to inform us that his eyes are set not just on the United States, but now the world.
And now, I'm gone. There's a whole wide world out there for me to take a big bite out of. Now maybe you can figure out just how I did it. Maybe you'll decide to do the same one day, when you get tired of fighting an endless fight for people who just aren't worth it. When that time comes, maybe you and I can work together, after all. Just one last thing. If you ever get off this rock, don't come looking for me. When I need to, I'll find you.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I'm a huge fan of game lore and follow a number of lore channels for games that I've long since stopped playing. This is my first attempt into this type of video, and truth be told I could have prattled on for another 30 minutes or so on the subject, based on the information I found, but I wanted to keep it short and sweet for this first one. This game has a number of unanswered questions or groups and individuals that could use further explanation. I quite enjoyed the research into this and look forward to digging deeper into the story. If you'd like to see more of this type of content, just let me know what you think. Cheers!